This is a self-lymphatic drainage routine for post-axillary lymph node dissection or upper extremity lymphedema. When one area of the lymphatic system is compromised, we can direct fluid away from the compromised side towards healthier lymph nodes using what are called anastomoses, or vessels that cross over lines that typically delineate flow. So for our upper extremity sequence, we will be directing fluid towards the opposite side axilla and the same side inguinals. So in this video, I'll refer to the affected and unaffected side rather than using right or left side. So just know that the affected side is the side that has had lymph nodes removed or has lymphedema, and the unaffected side is the side that doesn't. Begin your sequence today with 3 deep breaths. In through the nose, letting the belly rise on the inhale, and out through the mouth, a slight abdominal contraction on the exhale. Using the breath and the movement of the muscles that create the breath to produce a pressure change in the body that moves fluid. The breath is one of the main intrinsic ways that the body moves lymphatic fluid. Then move to the neck with hands resting just above the collarbone. Using just the weight of your hand, stretch the skin in a circular motion directed towards the midline. You don't need to be too deep here, but not feather light either. Just making full skin-on-skin contact, stretching the skin with your movements, opening up the lymphatic terminus or the endpoint of the lymphatic system here. This video will go for about 10 repetitions of each movement, but know that you can go for as few or as many reps as you need or have time for. Then reach your hands all the way to the back of the neck, arms can be crossed or not, pulling from the back of the neck forward. Not sliding the hands across the skin, but rather stretching the skin with your hands, collecting fluid from the whole neck and guiding it forward towards the lymphatic terminus. Then gently stretch the neck from side to side. Then move on to the unaffected axilla or the armpit that has not had lymph nodes removed. Using a broad flat hand, engage up and in towards the armpit, then release. Using enough pressure to get good engagement into the tissue, but not so much that you're digging into the armpit or creating any muscular strain. The idea is to move the tissues surrounding the lymph nodes and create gentle pressure change to encourage fluid movement. MLD is most effective done skin on skin without layers of clothing in between. Then take the hand flush with the rib cage just under the axilla, engaging into the tissue and stretching the skin up towards the axilla and releasing to begin again. This technique addresses the axillary lymph nodes from a different angle. It just helps you to get a more thorough drainage of this set of nodes. Now opening up the interaxillary anastomoses that run across the medial watershed over the midline of the body. Use 1 or 2 broad flat hands at the center of the chest, gently engage down into the tissue, then stretch the skin in the direction of the unaffected axilla, away from the affected side. This movement opens up the lymphatic failsafe anastomoses that cross over lines that typically delineate flow. This movement helps to redirect fluid away from the affected side. Now that we've opened up the anastomoses, we can start to work our way across the chest, guiding fluid away from the affected axilla towards a healthier set of nodes. So using that broad flat hand, apply gentle skin stretching movements all the way from the affected side over towards the unaffected. You may have to switch hands as you cross the midline. Relatively gentle pressure using the weight of your hand and really focusing on stretching the skin. Do these skin stretching movements all the way across the chest and upper quadrant of the abdomen. Stay in one placement for a couple repetitions before moving the hand over to the next placement. We're working from just underneath the collarbone and doing several passes, then working your way all the way down across the chest until you're working just underneath the rib cage. Again, this work is most effective done skin on skin. You can do this for as little or as long as fits into your life and schedule. And then just taking a moment to readdress that unaffected axilla to really make sure that the area where you're directing all that fluid towards is nice and open. Next, let's move to the inguinal nodes on the same side as the affected axilla. Using a broad flat hand in the hip crease, create gentle circles throughout the entire groin region, really engaging into the tissue and looking to apply movements that create pressure change in this area. We will be guiding fluid down the side of the body towards the set of nodes, so we want to be sure that these inguinal nodes are really nice and open so that they're able to accept all that fluid. To make sure that your work is effective as possible, play around with your hand placements here and move your hand in all different areas in this region. And then next, moving on to the axilloinguinal anastomoses, taking the same side or opposite hand at the waistline and applying gentle skin stretching movements down towards the inguinal nodes. So you're engaging into the tissue, stretching the tissue downward and releasing to begin again, redirecting away from the affected axilla and towards the same side inguinal. Now work your way down the affected side, moving from the axilla towards the groin of that affected side, applying those gentle skin stretching movements and working your way down the side of the body, staying in one hand placement for several repetitions before moving hand to the next placement. Really focusing on getting good engagement into the tissue and getting as much stretch out of the skin as possible. Gently guiding fluid away from the affected axilla towards a more healthy set of nodes, and then just readdressing those inguinal nodes. So we've done all the prep work, now we can open up that affected axilla and the affected limb. So taking that same broad flat hand in the affected axilla, engaging up and into the armpit and releasing the pressure to reset, just like we did on the unaffected side. Using that gentle skin on skin, really stretching the tissue with the movement, creating a pressure change in the tissue to encourage fluid movement. Then finally working your way down the affected limb, using those same skin stretching movements all the way down the arm. So starting at the top inside of the arm, engaging into the tissue, stretching the skin up towards the armpit, then releasing to begin again. Staying in one hand placement for several repetitions, then moving down one handprint. Do this down the entire inside of the affected arm. Really focusing on those good skin stretching movements, directing that fluid up the arm towards the axilla. And once you reach the wrist, work your way back up the outside of the arm, keeping the pace slow and intentional, knowing that you can make this sequence as short or as long as you want or need. We've done all the prep work to be sure that fluid we are moving from the affected limb has a place to go, utilizing those anastomoses across the watershed lines to direct fluid towards healthier sets of nodes. And once you've cleared the arm, we'll briefly readdress the interaxillary anastomoses by working our way back across the chest from affected to unaffected axilla with the skin stretching movements and readdressing that unaffected axilla. And then readdressing the axilloinguinal anastomoses by working your way down the affected side of the body and readdressing the inguinal nodes once more. We'll finish the sequence just as we started with 3 deep breaths, using that breath and the musculature that creates it to produce fluid-moving pressure change. Taking a moment to thank your body for all that it does, and taking a moment to thank yourself for making the time to do this sequence today.